Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fight for Liberty show. Today, I have a really exciting guest. I've actually been wanting to have this person on my show since the show started because he's the person that taught me that these things exist to begin with. But first, I got to tell you a little quick thing about what we're doing at Free Speech Media. We are actually going to the Pennsylvania Convention this weekend to record a documentary called The Battle for Pittsburgh. We're going to highlight everything that's going on behind the scenes for the whole convention all weekend, get exclusive interviews and all sorts of stuff for both the convention and the Mises Caucus event across town. So if you could help us out, that would be great. There's a GoFundMe to help get this project started. And if you donate, you actually get some cool exclusive content for the documentary, as well as a t-shirt, depending on how much you donate. So please, that's pinned like everywhere on every social media account that I have. So go check that out. But today, the guest of the hour, again, one of the people, like literally my introduction to alternative media on Mi Casa, Su Casa, Niko House. Welcome to the show.
Oh man, I appreciate such a glorifying intro. But hey, look, I'll take it. But nah, man, I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. Yeah, I honestly, like, I knew about like podcasting and like the general concept, and like I'd heard of Joe Rogan, and like the idea of like talking for hours on YouTube was in my head, and I had watched some of that. But really, when I started getting in with the Tulsi crew, New York City, they were the ones that showed me like there's people on YouTube that are actually putting out like real information like in real time, and like actually doing what we thought the news was doing, and like actually like giving us some fucking info. And
yeah,
so
we got hit specifically because we were doing what everybody thought the news was doing, and then they found out we were better at it. And literally at a Tulsi rally, I had a YouTube representative tell me that they're about to flip the entire algorithm on its head because of our channel.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because we were literally ranked number 1 for Tulsi. And then like Tulsi was number 2 for her name. Yeah, like that's and so every time, so when she won that, like when she went viral after that first debate, it like it was insane. And then like taking out Kamala, and then like the first channel that was coming up was ours. And so not only were we one of the only channels in progressive media or independent media, I should say, exposing Kamala to the degree that we were, but we were also the only ones telling the truth about Tulsi. And holding everyone equally accountable. And so it was a nice change of pace for a lot of people, and YouTube couldn't have that. So here we are.
Yeah, it was very surprising actually for me to see, because I was still, to use the horrible terms like blue pilled. I was still pretty like, I thought even as a libertarian, like a Gary Johnson voter, so for years I've been a libertarian, I was not fully aware of how fucked up the media was, or like just how
man, because even with Ron Paul, they did Ron Paul wrong too.
Oh yeah, and I saw, like, I thought it was less sinister than it was. I guess that was my mistake, is that I saw it as, yeah, I thought it was just because for the views, right? They do everything for the views. Nobody gives a shit about the LP, so they don't show anybody the LP. I just kind of assumed that it was more like that. It was more about money than like actually trying to like suppress voices. And then Tulsi happened, and it was like, this is literally like who everyone should want. Like she's a woman of color, combat veteran, badass on economics, badass on most other policies. Like
she was the best on climate reform, like the best, right? Probably like the best like official, or at least former official in the world on climate. Like she had 400 climate environmental organizations endorse her legislation. It's literally never happened before, ever. And like these are the real ones, like the people who are on the ground. Like like at one point, what's McCall had endorsed it. What's that damn? The Sunrise movie endorsed it, but like that was like the least, like the least substantial. There were the racial environmental justice organizations were supporting that. All the people who supposedly support the climate, the Paris Climate Accords were supporting this. And when she was getting that off Fossil Fuels Act was getting derailed, at least the conversation around it, by the same people who supported it and ran on it and then flipped and said we have to support this random Green New Deal, this 12 bullet point piece of shit. Nobody had anything to say about that, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I mean, like it was very clear to me, like, oh, the reason you have to make sure nobody sees her or hears her, because every time they do, she's the most Google candidate on the stage. Mm-hmm. Every time they do is her videos going viral. Every time they do is her tweets going viral. And not only did they do it to her, they did it to anybody associated with her. Mm-hmm. And that was across the board, whether it be mainstream media or an independent media.
Yeah, which I was really disheartened by how many like allies we had or thought we had that ended up not being allies, like especially within like the Bernie Bros and the Yang Gang. I was really expecting, especially Yang, because he was getting shafted almost as hard as Tulsi was for a while there. So when he stopped getting shafted, I was like, oh, maybe he'll actually talk about us. And then come to find out he stopped getting shafted because he had sold out.
Well, yeah, because when he signed the CAA, I knew what time it was. I was telling people he was going to run for mayor. I was like, he's either running for mayor or governor, probably mayor, because in New York, the demographics he would be unstoppable, and he knows this. Mm-hmm. And all he had to do was play ball, right? And so all of a sudden, he joined CAA, the same talent agency, Joe Biden, Kamala, Charlemagne the God, Anderson Cooper, AOC, same company that all these people were signed to, and he was rewarded for it. And even though Tulsi was the only one who really paid him any respect on that debate stage and treated him like it, not otherizing him just for being an outsider, you know? And yet he still threw her under the bus, which once again, it became, which being part of the campaign, that was the norm. That's what we expected. Mm-hmm. But it let me know I was on the right team. That's that, and it was most important to me was that making the right decision based off of the facts as they are, not as we want them to be. And if some people wanted to make the argument, we supported Bernie because we felt like he had the best chance to win. A lot of them wanted Tulsi to be the VP because they actually trusted her more. And I'm like, okay, pragmatically, I get it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, Bernie and Tulsi had the exact same chance of winning. And everybody would ask me why. I was like, has Bernie or anybody other than Tulsi addressed election integrity? Okay, then they have the exact same chance of winning. And look what happened. They were the last two with Biden. Mm-hmm. They had the exact same chance of winning. In other words, they had no chance of beating whoever the Democratic Party chose. And the time to address that would have been at the beginning of 2019, not right before a damn pandemic, where everybody began to acquiesce to whatever the Democratic Party wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned being on the right team. I actually filled out an application for Yang's team and Tulsi's team on the same day. I didn't hear back from either one, and ended up getting into the campaign through volunteering and just kind of getting plugged in and the natural grassroots way. But I am so thankful that nobody answered that ad, because I would have been on Team Yang, and I would have probably been able to get sucked into the team sports mentality and been defending him, and I would have been part of Yang Gang after working for him for a little bit. And yeah, it would have been a lot harder to handle how he's playing out right now than Tulsi did some interesting things, but I can't be nearly as mad as her as like Yang Gang has to be right now.
Yeah, I think she may have said two things that have made me upset. Like I'm like, it's not something that's like, oh my God, I can never. Nah, she might say so because Tulsi can be a little hard-headed sometimes. So sometimes she just be saying stuff. I'd be like, Tulsi, you don't have to say it like that. You don't have to double down like that 50 times. But I feel like I do give her more leeway, because at the end of the day, Tulsi's a human, and the shit she's gotten is ungodly. I've never seen anything like it. And the consistent pattern we saw, not only the people who supported Tulsi or getting attacked, but they went after all the people of color and Black people specifically that were staunchly backing her. And I don't think that was a coincidence. I don't think that the way she was treated was a coincidence. Or I would say not only was she treated, but how she was allowed to be treated. And I don't mean just by the neoliberal establishment. I mean by so-called progressives who constantly made excuses and justify and legitimize the way she'd been treated because they wanted Bernie to win so bad. And Tulsi's mere presence held up a mirror to just how fickle and duplicitous Bernie Sanders is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it amazes me how many people hate Tulsi Gabbard with like a fire that doesn't belong there, because it's from every side.
Oh, we don't, but Warren we just don't like her. She's just not as good as Bernie. But they hated Tulsi.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I mean, and Warren gives you so much more of a reason to actually like vehemently hate somebody. But even like the libertarians piss me off. I keep hearing phrases like, "Oh, she's good on one issue." And it's
no, she's literally good on every issue.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand the people that don't agree with like her healthcare stance, or even maybe don't like the Off Fossil Fuels Act. If you're a little bit,
have a problem with that. That's what was crazy to me.
I mean, if you're like an anarchist that hates government solutions, like I can understand you disagreeing with her solutions on a couple of the problems, but they're all pretty like capitalistic, like free market centered. It's not.
Yeah, it's truly free market center. Yeah, not like capitalism squashing opportunity. I know a lot of people confused, but like truly giving, like for her healthcare, we had a plan where if you were an immigrant and you wanted to come here to fill the issue with the lack of doctors that nobody wants to talk about when we're talking about healthcare, you would get full citizenship and a free ride to medical school. And the higher you specialize, the less it would take for you to become a full citizen. Like nobody wants to talk about shit like that when we're talking about any of this stuff. They want to use buzzwords, but Tulsi was out here doing the work to talk about the details that mattered. And she was showing the conviction and the follow through that let everybody that supported her know. We're going to fight for this. I'm not just telling you this. I'm not just talking about this. We're going to fight for this every step of the way. And that's where I had a lot of respect for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she spoiled me. I haven't really worked for a candidate since that. Just nothing about politics is the same being off of her team. It's kind of weird.
Man, I know, bro. It's kind of depressing, honestly.
Right.
It was hard to like do as much as I normally did, because after I saw the way that, I mean, she's the best candidate in my lifetime, and that's with all due respect to Dennis Kucinich and Mike Gravel, but she was different, right? Kucinich and Mike Gravel were great candidates, but they couldn't speak to the other side as well, right? And vice versa with Tulsi. Like she could speak to either side, and not only just speak to the other side, but bring both sides together, and then just by her mere presence, the people who support her end up seeing the bullshit of the establishment and stop attacking each other and start focusing on what they need to focus on. And that is a rare type of person. And that's why it's like when I saw her get treated like this by the people who were supposedly on my team, I had to completely reevaluate how I judged who was on my side.
Yeah, it was a real eye opener for me as well. Just how many people don't actually want to work with, or don't really want to listen at all. They just want to hear like a tiny little soundbite, figure out what team that person's in, and then just done. Like I either hate them or I love them, and there is no in between. It's insane. And it continues. It's not like it was just in the 2020 election. Like we're even seeing it now in New York with the mayoral election. Like there's the Yang Gang, and then there's these people. I'm running a libertarian candidate here, and there's just all of this stuff going on. We just basically the progressives just torched 2 mayoral candidates in a week, so that's been fun to watch.
Whoa, for real? I'm guessing that's in a good way.
Well, yeah, because the person that like the Working Families Party and the DSA had been backing for the majority of the election just had a bunch of sexual assault allegations come out against him.
I'm not surprised by that. I'm not even close to surprised by that. That sounds about right.
Yep. So the entire like Working Families Party, like Jamal Bowman, AOC, like everybody that had backed him just torched him in one big letter.
Oh man, not the stern letters. Oh God. Yeah. I mean, honestly, based off of the sentence by the Democratic Party, he should be governor, not mayor. But you know,
Right. No, he doesn't have enough of a cocaine problem to be our governor.
as far as we know.
As far as we know, right? But yeah, now everybody's shitting on Yang, which is really fun to watch. Because
I mean, he's kind of earning it. I mean, his comments on Palestine today were fucking abhorrent. Like he's lost his fucking mind, and so many people came to his defense trying to say like he'll evolve on the issue. Nah, he's actually regressed. He's really regressed. Like, and it's everything he's doing is a clear chance at an opportunity. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, well, his mayoral campaign team is a lot worse than his presidential campaign team was. There are a lot worse people in there, and I was reading down through a couple of threads yesterday where just chewing out, like just exposing a whole bunch of people. He's got like at least 6 or 7 like Zionists, like straight up like hardcore Zionists in his campaign team. So.
The CAA certified staffers, you know damn well that's not his campaign. Like AOC's campaign was no longer her campaign, right? That's how it works now. Yep. People got to understand. Although I do believe in a two-pronged or multi-pronged strategy, multifaceted strategy. Like most of our change is going to come from the outside of politics, bullying these motherfuckers into getting what we want. Because clearly people don't want to. They don't want to do. You know, the system is what it is. The system is why we are where we're at, and so. Pretending as if the system can save us is ludicrous. Not saying that you don't want people there, want the best outcome you can get from it, because you still have to deal with that as a factor. I should get down. Sorry, man. Sorry, me, cat out here tripping. But to get that, we have to make them fear and feel it. Like that means building communes and co-ops free of government influence. Building communities, being a community more than anything, disallowing them from trying to separate us. Like I don't know if you heard about this recent push for basically guidance. Like Biden is trying to put together a snitch team. The thing is, we know damn well they don't need one, right? We know that. So what's the real goal? To see if we can get y'all to turn on each other, because y'all are working. People are coming together more and more and more and more as the government has been failing us more and more, at least failing us more publicly while everybody's watching more and more and more. That is dangerous to them.
Yep.
So they are now trying to do this, shun everybody who doesn't get the COVID vaccine, no matter how many issues have been reported. Now it's snitch on your neighbor. Now they're saying they're trying to get the Pfizer reclassification for a warrant from you can get a warrant if it's you can have a warrantless like this is an investigation or a search and seizure it was a foreign agent. Now it's if you're a foreign person. That's what they're trying to do now. Just came out. So like they're trying to turn us on each other. Now you can't even talk to the people from Afghanistan to figure out what's happening in Afghanistan because you might be Taliban now.
Yep,
that's what we're seeing. You can't talk about the mestizos and the Negrito Venezuelans with those Venezuelans because now you could be one of those dirty little communists now. And I for one just want to say I am extremely happy we defeated communism, because otherwise we might be seeing our government employ civilians to snitch on each other to the CIA, and at least we don't have that happening, right?
Right.
Like. That at least that's not happening, because that would be terrible.
Yeah, we might also have them, forcing experimental drugs on people and murdering people in the streets and
literally giving cops more money to do it. Like that would look really bad, right?
Oh, did you see that from Yang too?
Oh God,
he wants to not only did he say that defunding the police is crazy, he wants to increase the NYPD budget.
I mean, he's an East Asian in New York. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the norm. Like, I'm from New York. I know what happens out there. Like, I know what time it is, guys. That hurry up and buy shit. Yeah, it sounds funny. And it sounds like a stereotype, but all stereotypes come from somewhere. And we feel them. They exist. But there's a such thing as a modern minority in sociology. And it's a factor that has to be considered when you're talking about, when you're trying to actually navigate this dangerous territory of, okay, he is technically a minority, but we all know that even minorities have classifications in the patriarchy and in this social construct that is the United States of America. And so just because he's one of us don't necessarily mean he's for us.
Right.
And Yang has showed that time and time again. Yang he's a capitalist. He's here for capital. What do fascist security guards, aka the police officers, protect? Capital. That's it. And Yang, of course, he supports the police. Right. Of course he does. Especially as a mayor, bro. You might not make it through your term. NYPD, to be real, you might come up with an accident, man. You might get in some friendly fire. That's what happens. So. Right.
Yeah, I've never met anybody from Westchester that doesn't love the cops. So we kind of should have seen that one coming.
Yeah,
motherfucker's not from New York.
Yeah, he's not from New York, but it's kind of crazy too, right? Like the fact that he legit has a chance to be mayor. He's not even like that is how you know he is part of the quote unquote team now. Mm-hmm.
I hope he gets torched pretty well for this one. I do think he will. I think that there are enough hardcore progressives in like not even take away which side is actually right or wrong in this one, but I think there's just more people that agree with Palestine than Israel in New York City right now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I used to live in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, and even the Hasidic Jews out there were regularly marching on behalf of Palestinians. And I mean, at the end of the day, Hamas, according to the United Nations, has every single right to defend itself because the United Nations Charter says that occupied territories always have the right to defend themselves against the invaders. And it is a fact acknowledged by the United Nations that Israel is an occupier. They are the invader. Yep. Hamas is Palestine's only semblance of a military. And I don't want to hear, well, they're a terrorist organization. Bruh, we just try to call Iran's entire motherfucking military, one of the most efficient and proficient militaries in the world, a terrorist organization. Like, I don't give a shit what America qualifies as a terrorist organization or not a terrorist organization, because at the end of the day, you show me another terrorist organization with 100 goddamn plus missiles to launch at anybody. They are a well-oiled machine with barely any resources. So we send troops all over the world blowing people up, hitting innocent, destroying innocent lives. And then, sorry, hold up. King, go somewhere. Thank you. Oh, man. My cats force themselves out of the room because they don't like me. But we do that, like, and then call ourselves heroes. And basically what they say is like, oh yeah, these extremists, what do? They go and just blow up random people's stuff and call themselves saviors. I mean, we're literally the most narcissistic, gaslighting, projecting country of like in the history of the world. And it's like we can't even, and it's crazy because I'm not even sure if it's on purpose. I used to think it was on purpose. Like the projection, I don't even think it's on purpose anymore. I think they just are idiots and they keep snitching on themselves. And they don't hear how dumb they actually, like, remember when we were making the memes about like the rainbow bombs during the election? And it was like, that's how the Democratic Party operates. And then literally they're like, oh, all gay flight crew, first one ever in the military. It's like, bro, y'all doing this shit on purpose? Y'all really don't get it. And that's why I'm like, I don't even do it on purpose anymore, bro. Like, they're just idiots.
Yeah, I'm with you. But Hamas can't be a real terrorist organization because the CIA hasn't given them any guns.
Oh, shit. But for real, though. It's crazy because I'm like, if Hamas is a terrorist organization, why is it the only country they attack is Israel?
Right.
That is a little. But funny enough, ISIS has never attacked Israel. Did you know that?
Right.
Isn't that crazy? Or Saudi Arabia, but that's a different conversation, right? Yeah. No, it's actually the exact same fucking conversation because Saudi Arabia and Israel are in bed together. If y'all haven't figured that shit out yet, clearly.
Right. I saw this map the other day that was like it had like all of the quote unquote Muslim countries in green, and then like a little red sliver that was Israel, and it was like this is the Muslims and this is the Israelis, and these people are being oppressed by these people, and it's like first of all it had like all of North Africa green as well, and calling it the Middle East. That was my first issue with it, and then B, it's like yeah, but most of those green countries are allies with Israel and helping them butcher the shit out of Palestine. So
it completely erases the reality of the Sunni Shia conflict. Like that has a massive impact because I mean, to be frank, one is a little bit more authoritarian. It seems to side with Israel all the time, and the other one's more democratic in nature in the way they like going about their business, or at least they're anti-imperialist in nature in the way they go about their business, and they don't like Israel. It's just really that simple.
Right.
One of the reasons that's kind of like what the issue is with our beef with Iran, why we go so hard to try and because they're democratizing more and more and more as the demographics begin to shift. Syria, is it Sunni? I want to say the Sunni or Shia. It's the same thing as Iran is for the most part. Basically, the one that's most associated with being democratic in nature. And it's like you see the consistent pattern of us attacking them specifically. Yeah. Like it's crazy. We always attacking the presidents, but never the supreme leaders. Yeah, and more family members. It's crazy, man.
Right. Well, we can't they can't become democratic without us bombing them. That's how it works. So we're just trying to help them along. You know,
people to help the people, bro.
Right.
We got. How do people gonna vote if you don't throw bombs at them?
Right.
It's democracy. You just don't understand. Come get some of this good old U.S. education system to learn you something right. Okay, like then you'll get it. For sure.
Right, man. Well, so before we wrap up, this is already great. But I do actually want to get into at least a little bit of your backstory and like what caused you to actually start this and get into this.
So I was the founder of the largest burn standards organization in the country in 2016, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. We did so well that they made me the state director my senior year in college, that was fun. Yeah, it was crazy. So I ended up, that's how I figured out what was going on as far as the cheating was concerned. We caught someone cheating literally in the act. And we I worked with Jared Elizabeth Lee Beck and started the DNC fraud lawsuit. Where we got to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, just a few months ago, was killed by Clarence Thomas because it got to his desk as soon as Joe Biden became president. I know, just all these coincidences always happening. It was. I mean, I was involved in a lot of activism, a lot of organizing, and I did realize that there was this massive void of people who understand how it works on the inside, but also prefer to be on the outside. And cause I only understand how it happened on the inside just by happenstance because of how deep I ended up getting into it. But I always was like an anti-establishment outsider. People just kept trying to bring me in. I don't know why. I'm very clear how I am. And I had the experience on campaigns on the ground in activism, organizing, talking to people, and the public speaking experience, and the background. Like I'm a comparative politics major, and basically we spend most of our time talking about philosophy and then how different countries end up in the situations they're in from economic perspectives, sociological perspectives, geographical perspectives, all that stuff. And so, yeah, and I was very fortunate to have the best, or at least who's considered to be the best Eastern European professor in the world at the time. And that's how I know so much about Eastern Europe and how much that is affected by the Middle East and vice versa, and their impact on the EU, and why some countries like Turkey technically is supposed to be in the EU. They just don't want to do it because we don't allow them to, because we need Turkey to be free because it is a gateway into Afghanistan. So all that stuff is important and the experiences are important, but we didn't have really anybody able to tie all of that stuff into 15, 20-minute segments where they're relevant to what we're talking about on a daily basis. And that was something that I was good at. At least I felt like I was. And I knew we needed to do more. We needed to grow, and we need to build a community, of the best voices and the best minds and the most honest and well-intentioned minds. And when you do that, you end up with a network as diverse as ours has become. We're about to be overran by women, actually, which is hilarious. But that, like, we were like looking at our meeting one day, we're like, God damn, it looks like the United Nations in this bitch. Like, what the hell did this happen? And we didn't realize it because it was like, oh, I just went and got the best people I thought were the most honest. And it was I was curating this team for in some cases 2 years, watching people before I invited them on, because as you've probably seen, the switch up is real. There's some people who will sell you out. Who will sell out that message, who will use your platform to grow, and only to just acquiesce to the establishment the first chance they get a chance to get some money. And so that was something that I didn't want to do any damage to the movement that way either, by accidentally giving somebody more air than they needed to have. And so, I've been very careful about how I've gone about my business and dealing with the MCSC network, because it's important. But I've been very fortunate to have a team that we really do consider each other family. And that's because we know where we stand, and we understand, like, to get past where we're at right now, we need a community, and we need to trust each other, and we need to, listen to each other and respect each other, and really work to help other people understand who our adversary actually is, and that we are all victims to propaganda at one point in our lives. And a lot of the people always ask me, who do you most despise? I always say neoliberals if they're comparing them to conservatives. I say, because most conservatives don't know better. They're victims of their environment. And most neoliberals do know better, and they don't care.
Yep.
Those are adversaries. The other ones are allies. What are people waiting to become allies? And I know for a fact, because I've converted conservatives to myself, which I find a lot easier to do than convert neoliberals. Mm-hmm. Neoliberals are usually in it for themselves, for some personal goal. And like that is what we have to let people understand. Like, look at people's intentions, look at people's patterns. Stop taking people at their word, like the powerful, and start talking to people. Because if you don't take people at their word and you give people the respect they deserve to be listened to, you'll always end up figuring out that you agree with more than what you would think with that person. And you can only do that if you talk and don't take people out the word, rather take them at their experiences, so you can know how to educate them, or even sometimes sit back and be educated and understand their language, so that you can better communicate it and facilitate a constructive dialogue.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that too many, like I mentioned way back towards the beginning, like we really quickly just like figure out, are you on my team? No? Okay, fuck you. And it's just, and move on. And or if we make that same like quick snap judgment on our team, and it's like, oh, we agreed on something, so you must be on my team, and then we follow each other on Twitter, and then like a month later you say something that's like totally in line with your message, and they freak out because it's like, oh, I didn't know you thought that. Yeah, it's like, okay, but you agreed with 95% of the rest of it, so what's the... Exactly. I can't stand the whole like, oh, we disagree on this one problem. There's usually only one line there for me, and it's with literally like innocent lives. Because like that for me, like that's kind of like a no-brainer. That's just like a moral, like, don't ever justify innocent lives being lost. I feel like that's pretty consistent. But other than that, like, I know we all don't have the same experiences. So how the hell could you possibly agree with everything that I agree with? Right. I'd be really freaked out. Like, you know what I'm saying? People be married to people for 35, 40 years, don't agree with 40. If they could agree on 40% of the shit that they talk about on a daily basis, you in a pretty successful marriage, honestly, bro. So like, so you gonna agree with people on Twitter 100% of the time? That's insane. That's literally not. It's illogical. It doesn't make any sense. Right. Yeah, and to your point, like, there really is only one way to do it, is to just take them at their word, just listen to them, actually try to understand what they experienced, and then go from there. Because like, I have no idea what people that grew up in California's lives are like. I have no idea what people who grew up outside of the country, who have different colored skin, have only one parent, have all of these things. Like I grew up in the country in an upper middle class house with both parents. I'm white. I lived a fairly cushy life for the first 16 years of my life until I moved out at 17, and then it's been a shit show since. But
This is what happened. It's all downhill after high school, everybody.
Right.
You start getting bills that you ain't even apply for. You're like, what the hell? How I got a bill already? Well, that's just what happens when you graduate. You walk across stage, you got a bill at your house. How it works, always worked. For real.
Right. Guys, man. Fail your senior year. Stay in high school an extra year. Just do it. It'll be better for you.
Yeah. Now y'all understand why. What's that damn Van Wilder? Y'all understand what that movie's about now? Because adulting sucks. It does.
It really
it's fun
does.
when it's fun, but most of the time it's not.
Right. I fucked up. I did the opposite of Van Wilder. I was out of college in one semester. I was like, nah, fuck this. This isn't for me. I want to go adult.
Hell nah, man. I was at UNC. I love shit too much. I was not trying to leave. They force you out of UNC because that shit's so much fun. You got 4 years to graduate, and if you do not, you are fucked. They're like, oh yeah. They don't play about that shit at UNC. You have to have a medical reason as to why you couldn't graduate.
Wow.
You have to get the hell up out of here. They don't play.
That's awesome, man. They could do that at more schools, and I would actually be a little bit more okay with universal higher education.
Yeah, well, there's a reality. That's the reality, right? When you have universal anything, there are a little more limitations that like you have to account for because shit does cost money. Mm-hmm. Shit costs money and people's time and labor. All that stuff is important. And that's why everything just requires nuance because like most of the time, I think most people are willing to compromise. Most people are. And then nobody like the nonprofit thing for healthcare, the no health insurance thing for healthcare. Like Tulsi realized like there are certain situations where people deserve to skip the line because of their circumstance, because of what they do for this country, like literally physical labor. And if there needs to be an incentive for them to, a bargaining chip for them as a union member, then they deserve that. And you can make that nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So there are ways to compromise. And as long as they have that option, most people are like, well, hell, as long as there are options, that's all they care about. As long as there are options. Yeah. And but you can't have those conversations to figure out what you agree on unless you actually talk to the other side and figure out, once again, as long as you make sure their intentions are genuine, you can usually find most solutions by talking to the other side.
Yeah, I was talking to one friend about you and just like that you were coming on, and I like sent out the post that I posted yesterday, and they didn't know who you were, and so I was like in a Twitter DM, so fairly short. I was like, oh, he was a Bernie bro, and then this and that, and they were like, why are you talking to him? And I was like, because he's a badass like fucking anti-establishment powerhouse that loves guns and loves weed and loves everything. Most of the things. You love weed. Like, why wouldn't I talk to you? Like, there's no reason for us to not be friends. Like,
yeah, I know it's weird.
You supported Bernie and I supported one thing
to not be friends now. Like, that's the dumbest shit I have ever fucking heard. And for anybody who believes that, I want you to understand how humans work, because I could tell a lot of y'all like read 2 pages out of your fucking psychology book and have no idea how actual social engagement works. If I go up to you just talking at you about my political agenda, what incentive do you have to actually listen to what I have to say, take it in, internalize it, and then maybe change your mind? You have zero, because your only concern is addressing the fact that I am arguing against your viewpoint. If we're friends and we're having conversations candidly, our friendship isn't reliant on this conversation. You can trust me because hopefully we built up a mutual trust and an understanding of where we are as people and what our experiences are. And now you can you can maybe change your mind on something. You're like, well, he isn't usually wrong on these issues. He's very consistent. He's educated. I know he's not trying to turn me against my political beliefs because he's my friend, first and foremost. And all of a sudden they are willing to hear you out. They are willing to change your mind. And that is what we need going forward. So yeah, be friends with people you don't always agree with. If they treat you well, their family well, their friends well, like genuinely well, not superficially, and you generally can tell by how that works. Yeah. Then generally speaking, those people are the ones who can change their mind on any given issue. And I probably agree with you on most issues. It's just that you saw them on Facebook only talking about these 2 issues and assume that was that defined everything about them. And these social media apparatuses are not the place to determine how you feel about somebody as a person, outside of maybe what political hot points, what political opinions they have on like hot button political issues.
Mm-hmm. It is really interesting now that I have like at least somewhat of a platform and a following. I've met probably about a half a dozen people now that I've never really, I didn't interact with online, but they knew me from online. So they're not like an internet friend that I finally met in real life. It's just like I'm meeting this person in real life, like, oh, I know your show, or oh, I follow you on Twitter or something like that. And what they say about me is always fucking hilarious.
What is that?
Because they just like, it's been a little bit different every time, but they'll try to like pretend that they know me and talk about things, and it's like the me that they think I am is like nowhere's near me. I feel like I'm really honest. Like I'm really just myself, like online. Like I don't filter things. I'm on there talking about fucking porn and who I think is hot and like all this other shit. Like I don't really filter myself online at all. So I didn't expect there to still be that big of a disconnect, but it's
I'm literally too lazy to filter, but but you know what happens? The more genuine you are, the more people will think you're being dishonest. That is what I've learned. Not everybody there, because what happens? You get the two extremes: people who can sense honesty and being a genuine person, and then the other side who low key they aren't honest. And so when someone is too honest, they can't believe that is that person being a genuine person, because they go about all of their social interactions compartmentalizing who and how they decide to interact.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's why you see that. And it doesn't get, it gets worse as you get more popular, as your platform gets larger. People like everybody will tell people I'm some kind of right-wing conservative. But like literally my conservative friends, one of my friends, Sean, who's the conservative, he just hit 100,000 followers on YouTube talking about conservative shit. And he literally comes to my defense on Twitter. He's like, y'all lost your mind. Niko has the same exact opinions in front of us all the time. Never changes. Mm-hmm. And they even joke about like, yeah, man, he honestly be changing our mind about a lot of shit too, but we can't tell him that. Like, but because they know they're defending me, one, because I'm genuine, but two, they're like, bro, he could be in front of us lying about, just kowtowing or whatever way, or acquiescing to whatever he thinks we want to hear. And then the reason they respect me is because I don't do that. And then you have people who will claim they don't respect me because they think I do, with no evidence of that. No tweets, no nothing. Just because I didn't want to vote for Joe Biden.
Right.
I didn't want to support Bernie this election. Like, okay, but did you look at the reasons why? Because he isn't that good on healthcare. Because he isn't great on climate change. Because he's been bound the military industrial complex. Because he supported the 94 crime bill. Did y'all hear? Because he supported legislation that led to the overthrowing of Gaddafi, which is something that damn near nobody else could say at this point. Like, but that didn't matter. Mm-hmm. That didn't matter. It was, but you said this buzzword that makes us uncomfortable. Therefore, you're a conservative now.
Right. Right. Yeah, I actually used to be one of those people that was like so dishonest that honest people freaked me out. Because I was very much like the real me and the me that people met like between ages like 16 and 22, like completely just not accurate, right? And just a full-on filter of everything, because I was trying to get into politics, and
and you got to be conscious.
Right. Yeah. And like every interaction, I was conscious of who that person would think I was. And I came up with this idea that there's a million different like little me's that exist in everybody's brain, and they're all different. So like when you meet a new person, you have the opportunity Right. That actually the shrooms are what helped fix that, because I finally just had a couple of weeks of some decent trips with one of my friends, who is one of those people that made me feel really, really uncomfortable because she was too honest. And she finally just like happens.
They vibrate on a different frequency, man. They vibrate on a different frequency, and you can feel it. Dishonest people. Like my girl tells me all the time, she's like, your voice, like it's soothing to people who are soothing, but who are honest. And because it's like almost like reassuring, but to the dishonest people, like it's like a fucking nails on a chalkboard, and they react accordingly, irrationally, even to the point where I was like, bro, I don't understand why people are making these unforced errors trying to take somebody down who's not that popular. And this is before the 50,000 followers. This is before whatever. Like this is like 10,000, 15,000, and even 20,000 followers. And barely any YouTube subscribers. People were still coming at me as if I was going to be the life or death of their, their circumstance. And all it did, obviously, like it helped me. Like literally, just kept making me more popular. And they would just keep doing it. I'm like, what are you doing? Because there is just something about honesty that holds up a mirror to dishonesty that makes them uncomfortable. And that's what it really comes down to. And hey, I'm all about making people fucking uncomfortable. So I gotta head out here though, man.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you having me on, bro.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Before you go, just want to plug the show and tell people how to find you, how to help out.
Yeah. So the MCSC Network on YouTube and Niko House on Rockfin. Which is we just released an Android app, rockfin.com, where like myself, Jimmy Dore, Convo Couch, all these crazy popular and honest channels go on, and we just really, that's the show right there right now, bro. Rockfin is the show, and people just would love, we can do the fuck we want to, we can say what the fuck we want to, and to be quite frank, it is nice to be rewarded for once for being honest. That is just the fucking real. Like I was able to expand our network because of Rockfin paying us the value of what we put in, and therefore allowing us to be more creative and be more honest and open, and even engage with the other side once again more because of Rockfin, we didn't have to do the algorithm gatekeeping bullshit that you got to deal with on YouTube. You're telling your truth now and what's important to you, and you're finding out people on the damn that's important to you too. Well, shit, we might not agree on anything else. Let's do a show on Second Amendment. And all of a sudden they start interacting. Like, bro, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful space to be in. I'm very thankful for it. And so fuck YouTube. Odyssey is good too. We're MCSC network on MCSC network on Odyssey as well. But Rockfin is definitely where our bread is buttered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had Pasta on a couple weeks ago, and he was talking a lot about that. I've been pushing. So FSM should be having both an Odyssey and a Rockfin here within the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We've been trying to get that PA convention shit figured out and everything else. So I put almost all of the like network expansion shit on hold for
the grind never stops, man. The grind never stops.
But Niko, thank you so much for coming on.
For sure, man. I gotta get you on soon.
Yes, I would love that. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you back here next time. Until then, keep up the fight.